What's going on, guys? Welcome to our first movie recap and review. Today we're going to be taking a look at the sci-fi thriller film Advantageous, which is basically about in the future you can actually copy your consciousness into another body, but suffice it to say it does not come without consequences. The movie opens on a mother and daughter singing together. We then see separate scenes intercut with each other centering around Gwen, the mother, and Jules, the daughter. We see Gwen as she paces inside of her home, preparing and reciting a pitch for some type of product. In the city, we see Jules and a couple of her friends walking down a sidewalk. One of her friends tells Jules to invite her mother to a luncheon at Eastern Prep School. The group of girls play a guessing game until a futuristic drone flies overhead towards a burning building. So you can already tell, we're in the future. Well, I mean, we have drones now, but we're in the future, just trust me. We then jump to a futuristic office as Fisher, Gwen's boss and her boyfriend, calls her and asks her to come into work. He watches her via multiple cameras in the city as Gwen walks down different sidewalks. The conversation turns to an abrupt end when Gwen meets Jules. The two go to a nearby lake and talk. While the two talk, we learn that the women in this society are rapidly losing their ability to have children. Not many women are able to have children, and the few that can are able to have them in a very short window during their life. Jules tells her mom that she found out that she may not have any eggs left by the time she turns 20. Okay, well, I don't know about you, but this seems like a pretty dim future. You can't even have children past 20. Just imagine if that was actually reality and how messed up that would be. Gwen assures her that she may be able to adopt children from other countries when she's older if she decides that she wants children. Their conversation is cut short when Jules gets an automated message from Arcadia Prep School, which tells her that her admission application had been denied. When we see Gwen and Jules relaxing in their home, they sit on the couch as the news reports that a rebel group has claimed 4 attacks on the city. We then jump back to Fisher's office where we see him talking to his boss, Isa. We find out that the company they work for, the Center for Advanced Health and Living, offers a procedure where someone's consciousness is placed into a completely disease-free body that will live much longer than they will, and this is where we get our first glimpse into what the movie is actually about. We also learn that Gwen's earlier speech was part of her application to be the face of the company in commercial ads, which comes with a significant pay raise. Isa tells Fisher that Gwen is too old to be on the company's commercials. We go back to Gwen in her home where she accepts an incoming call from Fisher. He gives her the news that she didn't get the position and that the company will be going with someone younger. She tells him that Jules didn't get into Arcadia, but she was accepted into Eastern Prep School, where the price of tuition has increased greatly. He assures her that she'll land on her feet before hanging up on her. The next day, we see Gwen heading out of the house. Jules stops her and asks her if she's going to the Eastern luncheon, and if Gwen got the raise. Gwen tells Jules to tell her friend that she'll attend the luncheon and is intentionally ambiguous about the raise. Gwen then starts down a sidewalk and takes a call from a job recruiter trying to help her find a new higher paying job. The recruiter proposes that she donates her eggs while they try to find a more permanent job, but she denies the offer and tells him to look for other jobs. A homeless woman overhears her and tells her to take any job she can get. Gwen then heads to the Center for Advanced Health and Living where she learns that her credentials have been erased. She's been completely fired. Isa notices her on the camera and lets her in. She sits down and talks with Gwen about her uncertain future. Gwen tells her that she plans on teaching, and Isa informs her that teaching is done completely by artificial intelligence now. Isa assures her that she'll find a job that pays as well as this one before seeing her out. So pretty much in this type of reality, it is extremely hard to find a good job, and even harder if you're not young and attractive. If I'm being completely honest, it's already kind of like this in South Korea and in a lot of other Asian countries, but pretty much like if you're past like the age of 50 and working at a company, they will purposely just fire you just for being old. Yeah, it's really messed up, and I don't have time to get into it in this video. But the truth is, we could actually be in this kind of reality not too long from now. Outside, Gwen calls the recruiter to check if anyone has shown interest in hiring her. On the call, she realizes that the recruiter is an AI, and she takes a look at the bustling electronic city around her, realizing that the world is becoming more artificial than human. Later that day, Gwen checks her bank account, only 743 units. She buys a homeless woman a soda before picking up Jules from piano lessons. They go to a restaurant that they find is closed, with the owner inside clearly worrying about the money they're counting. As they walk somewhere else, Jules questions Gwen about why she had her, if she knew it was this hard to survive and make money in this world. Gwen assures her that they'll be alright and tells her that she loves her. The next morning, Jules informs Gwen that they only have 1 week's worth of water left. Gwen tells Jules that she should be getting paid tomorrow before serving her breakfast. Later on, we see Gwen attending the Eastern luncheon where a group of other mothers eat. The other women are clearly high-class sophisticates, under the impression that Gwen is the face of the prestigious Center of Advanced Health and Living. The group offers Jules a spot in their elite camp for their children, where Gwen will have to contribute 10,000 units for Jules to attend. While the women talk, we learn that Jules' father isn't in their lives anymore, but that was kind of obvious. We then see Gwen sitting on a park bench on a call with her mother. She apologizes for not talking to her in so long and asks her for money to help her and Jules get by. She tells her that she needs 40,000 units to get them through the month, but Gwen's father says that her mother can't help. We learn that Gwen's father has never met Jules because Gwen forbids it, but we don't exactly know why just yet. Her mother begins to pray for her, apologizing because she can't help her, and Gwen hangs up the phone. Later, we see Gwen on a video call with Fisher and asks to undergo the company's procedure to be placed into a younger body so she can be the company's spokesperson. Fisher agrees to let her undergo the procedure, while Isa listens to their conversation out of Gwen's view. We then see Gwen and Fisher meeting in person. He tells her that he couldn't say it while they were being recorded, but every test patient they've ever had has developed breathing issues. They've had to take a shot every 2 hours for a year to survive. Clearly, he doesn't want her to undergo the procedure. He tells Gwen that Isa was expecting her to ask for the procedure. He begs her not to go through with it and warns her that it'll be a lot more dangerous than she thinks. She decides to go with the procedure in an attempt to support her daughter. Later on, Gwen warns her daughter that she'll have to change her appearance soon for work, and she may be gone for a while. The next day, we see Gwen sending Jules off to an elite camp with the other little girls. Later that day, Gwen visits the restaurant that Lily, her cousin, owns. Han, Lily's husband, tries to convince Gwen to leave before Lily finds out she's there, saying that it's not a good time. Gwen forces her way inside and reunites with Lily. Gwen hasn't spoken to Lily in years, and we find out that it's because years ago, Gwen slept with Han and had Jules. What? Now Lily is aware that Gwen and Han slept together a long time ago, which caused a rift in their family, but she didn't know that Gwen had a child or that it was her husband's. Gwen asks Lily for help supporting Jules, but Lily tells her no. Gwen leaves and goes to the Center for Advanced Health and Living, where she signs documents to go forward with the procedure. At home, she sits down and fully explains the procedure to her. Jules scrolls through different possible bodies her mom will soon be in and tries to get used to the idea of it. About a month later, we see Gwen and Jules go to the Center for Advanced Health and Living, and Gwen undergoes the procedure. We see a series of abstract visuals where colors and lines of reality blur as Gwen's consciousness is being transferred. We jump to see Jules leading a much younger and racially ambiguous Gwen up the stairs to their home. We see the new Gwen sleeping with Jules in the same bed later that night. The next morning, Gwen practices the same speech about the procedure that she was rehearsing at the beginning of the film. We then jump to Gwen giving that speech at a press conference where the company is unveiling the new technology. As Gwen gives her speech, we see a scene of the new Gwen having lunch with the socially elite mothers. They all stare at her in envy and eat. Later on at home, Gwen receives a message from Lily and Han apologizing about getting so upset when she visited. They decide to offer their help to Gwen and Jules, but it's a bit too late now. That night, Jules finds Gwen on the kitchen floor. She forgot to take her breathing shot, so Jules helps administer it. The next day, we see Gwen almost get hit by traffic while she waits to meet Jules outside of the school. Something is clearly wrong. The day after that, we see Gwen working while Jules studies and listens to classical songs out loud. Gwen asks her to turn it off, and Jules, confused, says, "I thought you loved that song." Gwen tells her she doesn't want to hear it right now, and Jules erupts. That is the last straw. She shouts at her, asking where her real mother's gone, telling her that she's not her mom. Jules tries to hit Gwen, but Gwen tackles her and holds her down until she calms down. We see Gwen on a video call with Fisher the next day, explaining to him how she always feels angry now, and that she feels as though her connection with her daughter has been lost. She tells Fisher that she's going to leave for a while and take a break from being around Jules. Later, Fisher meets Gwen at a pier and tries to talk some sense into her. He tells her that Jules needs her as she transitions into prep school and that she needs to be a good mother. We then see a flashback of Fisher and Gwen meeting at the same pier before the procedure when he was trying to talk her out of it. It's revealed that Fisher told Gwen that the procedure actually makes a complete and almost exact copy of the host's brain. Rather than transferring the consciousness, which is what the company advertises, they copy it and completely erase the first body's brain. Essentially, Gwen let herself die in order to create a copy of her brain. Fisher further explains that her clone brain will wake up in a new body with Gwen's memories and assume that she's the real Gwen that underwent the procedure. Gwen makes Fisher promise to never tell Jules before the flashback ends. You basically have this company kill you, but before that they copy your memory and put it into a new brain and a new body, but that's still not you. That's just a fresh brain and fresh body with your memories copied to it. You're still not going to be the same person no matter what, because all you have is those memories. Like if that body before Gwen took over had anger issues, then Gwen probably will have anger issues too, and that probably makes sense why she's having them now. She's not herself any longer. She's in someone else's body with the memories of her old self, but she's not even herself, if that makes sense. Back in present day, Fisher tries to make the new Gwen care about her daughter before she collapses and has to take one of her shots. Back at home, we see Gwen looking through old pictures of the real Gwen and her family. Jules grabs all of Gwen's breathing shots and hides them in another room. Gwen explains to Jules that the real Gwen is dead and she did it herself. Jules doesn't believe her, accusing the new Gwen of killing the old one. Gwen starts to have a breathing attack until Jules goes and grabs her medicine. She gives her a shot and takes care of an unconscious Gwen. The next morning, Gwen and Jules share a sweet moment over breakfast as they talk about the original Gwen. Gwen looks at old family pictures before visiting Lily and Han. After Lily meets the new Gwen, she erupts into tears. Later on, Gwen, Jules, and Jules' friend have a picnic with Han, Lily, and their 2 boys. They awkwardly, but sweetly, have fun together in the park. And that is the end of the film. I personally thought this movie was very interesting and tackles a very serious question about reality and the future and where we're heading as a society. As I said earlier, we're not too far off from becoming a kind of society where people just even in their early 50s can be outcasted and out of a job just for being that old. Which is not even that old, by the way. I know aspects like that of the movie definitely are relatable and hit close to home because a lot of people do struggle with that every day. I also thought that it was very interesting how the old Gwen actually died and the new Gwen wasn't actually her. I mean, I kind of had a feeling about that because this is a science fiction movie. If they're gonna make a sci-fi film and use some science involved, then it's pretty clear that you can't just copy someone's consciousness, but you can copy their brain. It kind of reminded me of one of those Black Mirror episodes where they make digital copies of people's brains called cookies, but those little digital copies of the brain are alive and sentient. But anyways, that's for a different video. Overall, I thought this movie was pretty interesting and I would overall recommend giving it a watch. If you guys enjoyed this video, leave a like, hit that sub button if you're new, and leave a comment down below letting me know your thoughts. And with that said, I will see you guys in the next one.